All right. Well, first off, I'd like to thank you all for allowing me to come in here. Um, I'm not familiar with any of you all, so nice to meet you all. So I have been able to kind of like dig through here. Miss Guzman was nice enough to give me the access to here, so I have been going through the numbers a little bit. So overall, you guys did really well. If you look here at this is the chart I was focusing on here. So you guys had 49% approaches. You guys had 35% meets. And then you had 2% masters and then 15% that did not meet. So those, I'm sorry, this one? This one. Okay. So this is it. I'm sorry. 85% approaches, right? 15, yes, I'm sorry. It's because it looked different on my computer. 14% or 50% did not meet, 2% masters, and then the 32% on the bubble. Okay. So this is the one that I should have been looking at. So one thing I think that stood out to me was the approaches. You guys did really well in the approaches, and then another thing that stood out was the 2% of the masters. So that was kind of like my first question that I came up with was what could we do as a team overall to kind of like raise the masters percentage there. Um, I know these kids come in. The good ones already took biology in eighth grade, correct? Like the better, I guess, students already take that in eighth grade, or they're now taking it in eighth grade. So what could we do with this group here to raise that master's percentage? I think that was the first thing that I noticed.
Yeah, so we can focus on the kids that were just a few points away from getting to masters. Like target them a little bit more. And what I've been doing bell ringers in each class, going over the lowest peaks.
So you're kind of like spiraling back to some of those main, like the T or the ones that are close getting there.
And actually breaking down, like for example, we were looking at, because my lowest teak was on biomolecules, that was something that we covered at the beginning of the semester. And so the question, the way it was worded, there's a common misconception that, for example, protein it provides the body with what is it, energy. That is like the common misconception. And it seems like that's a common misconception across the state because the state gave, that was a question, that was letter A, protein provides energy. So that was one of the questions that we broke down today, and I was teaching them, look, let's break it down. Let's do get rid of the ones that we don't need. And
Process elimination.
So if we can teach the kids, I'm pretty sure, especially the ones that need or the ones that did not pass.
Before you move it,
Sorry.
Patricio, I know you said one thing about, can you repeat what you said about how we can work on our master's numbers?
Yes, we gotta focus on the ones that were just a few points away.
Okay, so if we look at our first student achievement, where is that number?
That's that 85.
Exactly, like look how many kids we have as a strand that are one or two questions away.
And I want you guys to focus on something. Notice you did real good in the approaches, 85%. That's real high. This year, of course, the test was what we covered, which is good. That means 85% of the kids know what we covered. That's awesome. But if you look at our skill score and our rating, what's our rating? C. Even though we have an 85%. So what is that reason? We have a B and only 50% are not mastering or are not getting the approaches. So the reason we have the C is because of our meets and masters numbers. Mm-hmm. So in order to get, it's not just about passing anymore, it's about meets and masters. Mm-hmm. So in order to get that, just like Ms. Guzman is saying, look at your numbers. This, of course, is your numbers of students at the level. Where are your biggest numbers?
High approaches.
101.
And the high approaches and high meets.
And high meets.
Yeah.
So you have 101 kids, 186 kids, if you want to look at it that way.
I'm sorry.
That can go on to the next level at the meets and the masters. So that needs to be our target. Those 101 kids and you motivate them, hey guys, you pass. And I know you can make it to the next level. Okay, they call PD, they notify officer, let them know. So those 101 kids, And those 85 kids, by getting them just a few more questions correct, that's going to shoot us up to the high B, if not the A, if we get this across. So we're in a very good spot. Good job. I think we're starting out the year very, very well with biology. And just like you mentioned, yeah, it's bad that we don't have our eighth grade kids when I was in middle school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I know what high school principal didn't like me.
And as far as tutorials, I know it's hard to get like these high meets kids to come in, right? Like you have to do and work everything in the classroom. So, you know, I was that was another question I had. Like, who is the focus group for like tutorials for you all?
Ruth?
Mine were my idea kids and ALI kids, but the issue is always I'm working or I live in
Yeah.
Matamoros. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
there's a bus,
Yeah,
the bus is
different
over, and they're like, well, but I'm working or.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
over.
So because of that, we have to try to take advantage, just like Mr. Garcia said, during the class time.
Yeah.
I know, and I think I asked Ivy to bring this up, so I'm gonna bring this up now. And I'm gonna kind of piggyback on what you just said in terms of the tutorials, because now we have to maybe not focus so much on tutorials, but what things in the class can we do?
Mhm.
So we've talked about some things that the bio strand has done. Do we wanna continue that again? And how do you think we could tweak it to make it better?
I personally like that because when we had Etna's kids, this year I have honors kids, and I chose fifth and sixth, which are my honors kids, and I had her kids, which were like, it was her inclusion. So what I did was I spoke to my kids right before her kids came in, and I said, I need you to get in groups of 2. So I separated them, and then I had her kids, and they worked together. And so the questions, it kind of motivated her kids, because when we do bell ringers, right? And my kids were like, they were answering, and the other kids were like, they were stunned like this. And I was like, and then they started talking, and they were helping each other. And I really liked that.
Yeah,
I felt that made a big impact.
Yeah,
on
definitely.
the kids. So,
And let me add this, this is the first time I see it, it's something new. Has anybody seen the incomplete part?
Yeah.
And what were they happening there? Why is it
So,
incomplete?
like I have 2 incomplete.
SCRs?
They're doing, no, they're either they didn't answer everything
Oh,
and they submit it,
yeah.
or they just click the pause button and didn't finish it.
Okay.
Like
And-
I have 2 that are currently working in
And that's
class.
79
Yeah.
kids, that's a lot.
Yeah, because I was gonna say 2 days ago when I opened it, there was like way less, and then I think today when I opened it, there was more. So like some people were still submitting.
So they submitted, but they left some blank. You know, I would think it was short and response, maybe they didn't do that, because the kids don't have to do that.
no, let's just put a period term. Done.
I get the
And
no
that's
say.
it.
But I have reading that anything concept as an answer, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to
So-
know. I hadn't seen it.
For the low teaks I saw it was bio 0.5A and then bio 0.5C. I believe those were like the 2 lower teaks. I think bio 0.5A was to relate the functions of different types of biomolecules, including carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids, to the structure and function of a cell. And then bio 0.5C was investigate homeostasis through the cellular transport of molecules. So those were the ones that I saw overall. I'm not sure what you guys had individually.
Did y'all have a chance to see, because I know last time we spoke, this biomolecules is always one that kills the students, but we specifically, I think, determined that nucleic acids was the one out of the 4 that they were having most difficulty with. Have you all had a chance to look at those questions and dig deep to see if there's a specific biomolecule that is it still protein?
Well, the question, and the kids were the ones that told me, ma'am, that was a question that was on the test. And so I'm like, well, and I had 42 of you get it wrong, 42%. So why? Let's look at it. And everybody was choosing that what is that question called? The one that is a tricky question, or the one that they throw so that
Attention getter.
yeah, the one that confuses the kids, that is there for that reason I forgot the name.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so it was
The distractor.
The distractor. And it said proteins provide energy. That was letter A, and that's what they chose. That's what everybody chose.
Do you think those are low teaks because of they come in from 8th grade and they don't really get a lot of that in 8th grade? Or like their background knowledge isn't as, I guess, as good as others?
Well,
Or
the kids that took biology in 8th grade do see it.
test it.
But if they took it in 8th grade, they don't take it in 9th
It's that
grade.
one, right here.
They're
That one.
I'm gonna do that.
this one. Oh, there it is. Oh yeah.
So here's a specific question.
Everybody chose A,
Oh,
when the
yeah,
answer is
yeah.
B.
Yeah, and here's again going back to that misconception, proteins provide energy.
Yeah.
Like you all need to, the kids need to just tattoo that on themselves, that
That's what I
proteins
told
do not provide energy.
And then they have to remember that because it doesn't say enzymes catalyze chemical. I'm like, what are
They
catalysts? Which are the
forget
catalysts?
that enzymes
Are made up of
protein.
protein, yeah.
That, I mean, we stress it, I remember, I was like enzyme, and I do emphasize that enzymes are proteins, and then I go into the, if it's an ASE, it's an enzyme, it's an OSE, it's a, a sugar, whatever.
I really think, you know how in, what's that movie? Finding Nemo? Where they do like, fish are friends, not food. Okay, so I think all of us as a bio team, we need to train our kids to say, proteins do not provide energy, enzymes are proteins. That's gonna be like our chant every day. Let's repeat it to ourselves out loud. And you can even put like the little fish are friends thing, so this is a reminder. But I really think that it needs to get to that point because they keep on consistently missing the same question.
And if you see this, it shows that they're pretty much like guessing, right? Because there's a lot of answers for all of them, so they're just kind of.
And I told them, like, for example, letter C, it says lipids store genetic information, and then letter D, proteins store genetic information. I'm like, guys, which of the 4 biomolecules store genetic information? Is it protein, nucleic acids? Then why did you choose C, right? Those are ones that you can, scratch off.
But the ball chooses A because of that. We always talk about
Yes.
energy.
See, I can see it on C why they probably, got it, because the first part, they probably thought, the proteins allow for the transport of certain molecules into and out of the cell, like the whole, when we cover cell transport, But then the second part, lipids store genetic information, like they probably didn't remember
Yeah,
that
and
part.
that's, and then the second
They
part
saw
of
it
lipids.
automatically and just
For letter B, the lipids allow for this transport. I'm like, we were talking about active transport, facilitated diffusion, all these. What are we using to talk about those terms? The membrane. Okay, so what is a membrane made up of? What is it called? The lipid bilayer. There you go, lipids.
So they know it is the question itself.
It's the
Yeah,
question.
make
It's the
connection.
wording.
Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe in the Bill Ringer using, you guys know about the remediation tab here where you can get other questions similar to those, maybe using that as your Bill Ringers. Getting an actual question from Tango, that's same teak and just get various so they could see and go over. Maybe that could be your Bill Ringer, and help with the testing strategies. Yeah.
The high teaks that you guys did well on were Bio 0.5b and then Bio 0.7b. 0.5b was compare and contrast prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells, including their complexity, and compare and contrast scientific explanations for cellular complexity. And then 7b was describe the significance of gene expression and explain the process of protein synthesis using DNA and RNA models. So I think those were like the higher ones. What do you think like worked well with those two, or why do you think those two were the highest?
I think for the changes in DNA mutations, we just covered it, and we also just covered
Protein
synthesis.
Oh,
synthesis.
so it was
It
recent.
was recent, yeah.
Prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells, I always really real that into them, like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
differences.
And I think they get that in 7th grade
Correct.
and also in 8th grade. So it's like, and then
One thing we also, and I've been telling the other departments as well, yes, look at the mastery, but also look at your SPED mastery. I think I mentioned it already. We're actually okay. We understand the SPED mastery is not going to be as high as a regular mastery because they have a disability. That's the point. That's the reason they're in the program. But you see 46 to 52, 36 to 43. The kids are performing.
Mhm.
There's not a bill now. And there was a huge gap. If you see one is super different, then the issue with the special ed might be the accommodations, might be the extra help, and they might need support. But if you've seen they're pretty well close to it, maybe 10, 15 points difference, we're in a good spot. There's not accommodations, it's just the content itself. Now, when you see huge discrepancies and you have the regular kids at a 90% and you have your special ed kids at a 30%, then that's something that we need to figure out. Is it a combination? Is it less in delivery? What is it to see the difference? So you're pretty much close there. They're all very close to each
Yeah,
other.
they're good.
And